fit for a queen? Yes, Silverwood Colliery did once supply coal to the royal households, but now in November 1994 the pit is to close after a lifetime of 91 years, and royal households will have to get their black diamonds elsewhere. This is the bridge over the River Don at Thrybergh Junction, carrying the rail track from Thrybergh Junction up to Silverwood Colliery. When the pit closes, this line will be lifted, and no longer will it be possible to hear locomotives struggling up the hill with their trainload of empty wagons to Silverwood. There are still a couple of coal trains a day crossing the Don on this bridge from Silverwood Colliery. These are to one of two power stations on the River Trent, either Cotton or West Burton. Our film shows the journey of a typical coal train. Let's look at a sketch map showing the route the railway takes from Silverwood Colliery to the two power stations on the Trent, Cotton and West Burton. Silverwood Colliery lies just eastwards of Rotherham. The railway from Silverwood drops down and crosses the Don at Thrybergh Junction. Along the old Great Central Line from Sheffield to Doncaster, we continue eastwards through Mexborough, Conisbrough to the outskirts of Doncaster. All the way down this line, the railway crossed and recrossed the Don. At Doncaster, we swing southwest onto the old South Yorkshire Joint Line at St Catherine's Junction. Down the South Yorkshire Joint, past Thrybergh Junction, which is the junction to Harworth Colliery, continuing down past Maltby Colliery, down to Brancliffe Junction. At Brancliffe, we meet up with the old Great Central Line from Sheffield, which goes to either Gainsborough or did run to Lincoln. Brancliffe, we go eastwards, passing the Midland junctions at Shire Oaks. The Midland line goes down to Mansfield. We continue eastwards to Worksop, where there is a locomotive stabling point and a trainload coal depot. We continue eastwards through Retford until we get to Clarbrough Junction. At Clarbrough, the line goes either to West Burton Power Station and continues on to Gainsborough, or at Clarbrough it swings down to Cotton Power Station on the Trent, where the line now terminates. The line used to go to Lincoln. The rail distance from Rotherham to Doncaster to Brancliffe to the two power stations, either West Burton or Cotton, is approximately 50 miles. The distance the crow flies from Silverwood to the power stations is about half that, 25 miles. Now after all that, let's see some trains, eh? Dalton Main, or more recently named Silverwood Colliery, is situated adjacent to the small hamlet of Ravenfield and half a mile from the village of Thrybergh. Silverwood was one of the first deep coal mines to be developed in the country, needing large amounts of capital and using techniques developed by the Germans in the Ruhr. The mine at Silverwood was financed by the famous shipbuilding and armour plate manufacturer John Brown. Sinking of the shaft was begun early in 1900 and the Barnsley bed was reached in December 1903 at a depth of 2,300 feet, and by 1911 the output of the mine was running at 5,000 tonnes per day. At one time, 80 coke ovens were also operating at Silverwood. On one side of the road, the mine. On the other side, these colliery houses. We start our rail story down by Thrybergh Bridge, where a swan is feeding on a large flash of water created by River Don overspill. This tranquil scene is disturbed by a barge heading upriver to Rotherham, and then silence returns once more as we await a train of empties for Silverwood. There are two rail bridges here on the Don, both originally double track, now both single track. The one in use by British Rail for coal trains to and from Silverwood is shown first. This bridge, the most recent of the two, opened to traffic in 1909. Previously, the railway was carried up towards Silverwood on this older bridge, a few hundred yards upriver. The bridge is now used privately by the steelworks for interworks traffic. The bridge was owned by the Roundwood and Dalton Colliery Railway and built by Newton Chambers in 1901. The bridge saw at least one spectacular runaway of a loose-coupled loaded coal train, the steam locomotive losing control on the 1 in 47 gradient. A Janus diesel-electric locomotive built by the Yorkshire Engine Company shatters the silence for our swan. A different work shunter comes off the bridge. The Silverwood colliery line is in the foreground. The two Don bridges, the original bridge far left centre. The multiple unit in the far distance is on the Midland line, running towards Swinton. After crossing the Thrybergh Bridge up a ride, the train climbs the bank on an S-bend, boarding the steelworks complex. The original Don Bridge is just off picture, upper left. The average gradient is 1 in 48, and the train is approaching the steepest section, 1 in 45, as it rounds a bend on its approach to the village of Thrybergh. Nearing the top of the climb up from the Don, the train will negotiate the hazard of local use, who use the railway as a thoroughfare. This was once the site of a wooden platform named by locals the Thrybergh Tins. The platform was used annually to board miners and their families onto a special train to and from the seaside. The Class 56 locomotive enters the British Rail run-round loop just below Silverwood Colliery, previously known as Dalton Main. This loop is laid on the trackbed of the former Rotherham, Maltby and Lawton Railway, now lifted between here and its junction at Braithwell on the former Hull and Barnsley Railway. And the Class 56 locomotive will now uncouple, run round its train and haul the empty wagons up to Silverwood Pit and pull right under through the bunker complex. The train will then slowly ease down under the bunker and commence filling with crushed coal. The end of the line, past the buffer stop and through the cutting to the now non-existent Brancliffe Junction. In the distance can be seen the washery and bunker of the pit complex, which will soon embrace the train. The train of empties has now passed forward under the bunker. Now the train reverses and slowly eases back and is filled with coal. The whole process at the pit from start to finish took approximately 1 hour, and the train is now ready to depart. The wagon operator telephones through to control and the train is signalled to proceed. Now half a mile from Silverwood and over Vale Road at Thrybergh. Now leaving Thrybergh and about to pass under the A630 Doncaster Road. The train of 36 fully loaded HAA wagons descends slowly down the bank, past the Rotherham bar mill on its left, and on its right the former spoil heaps of treated sewage sludge from Blackburn Meadows sewage works, which used to be transported here in open wagons some years ago. A set of catch points, protected by a signal, divert any unauthorised rail traffic or runaways into a sand drag. The catch points and signal operated by Sheffield Control Centre. The coal train, now on former Great Central Metals, will pass the site of the once Kilnhurst colliery and also Kilnhurst locks and the South Yorkshire navigation. Here side by side is seen colour light signals controlling rail and canal traffic. Unfortunately, the canal is little used, despite large sums of money being spent to modernise all the locks up to Rotherham. Progress is met by a British waterways barge coming the other way. Half a mile from Kilnhurst Lock is the Ship Inn, alongside the old Kilnhurst station site. Another double-header. When coal production at Silverwood ceased, the colliery was demolished, and some months later huge stockpiles of coal had to be moved by rail. Unfortunately, in the meantime, thieves had stolen one leg of the run-round loop, and 2 locomotives were required at Silverwood to accomplish the loading manoeuvres. Hence the sprinkling of double-headers. Round the curve, the coal train approaches Mexborough station.
Climb them steps there, look.
Over the bridge.
Yes, don't run away.
A train of coal empties bound for Silverwood passes through the station. Trackmen grease the point work at Mexborough East Junction. At the site of the former Copley colliery, the railway again crosses over the River Don. Close by is seen the out-of-use Dearne Valley Railway viaduct crossing over the valley. The 21 arches are of engineering blue brick with a central girder section straddling the river. Conisbrough tunnel goes under the old track bed of the Dearne Valley Railway. After leaving the tunnel and adjacent to a large quarry, the railway goes over the Don on Rainbow Bridge. Limestone from the quarry is to be shipped downriver by the British waterway vessel Wharf 2. Further along the line, the railway passes another quarry at Wormsworth, and the previous quarry can be seen in the distance. Hexthorpe Junction. The Doncaster avoiding line curves away to the left. Leaving the line from Sheffield and skirting around Doncaster to the south, coal from the Silverwood stockpile passes through Belmont Yard, running alongside the East Coast Main Line, where the new Royal Mail terminal is under construction. The train is on the Doncaster to Gainsborough line and is about to swing off right at Decoy South Junction onto the Joint Line. Now on the South Yorkshire Joint and over a typical Joint Line bridge. Thrybergh Junction. The line to the right is from Harworth Colliery. The train is now approaching Maltby colliery and signal box. The remains of Maltby Station, closed to passenger traffic in 1929, save for the occasional miners' excursion train. The two main engineering features on the Joint Line are this very deep half-mile long limestone cutting at Maltby. The other feature is the lattice girder viaduct at Brookhouse. The train is approaching the tiny village of Brookhouse. The road through the village is straddled by a 40-foot high lattice girder viaduct carrying the single line on a curve. The piers, clad in engineering blue brick, were built wide enough for the track to be doubled if required. approaching Lawton Junction, with the church spire of Lawton en le Morton in the distance. The rails to the recently demolished Thrybergh colliery are being lifted, and, as if a memorial gesture, the lamp in the redundant signal arm is still lit. Just south of the junction is Dinnington colliery box. The colliery and associated exchange sidings are now no more. The box provides tablets for the single line section through to Maltby, and the signalman at Dinnington is seen receiving the tablet pouch. At Dinnington Junction, the single track of the former South Yorkshire Joint Line becomes the double track of the former Great Central and Midland Joint Line. Just after the coal train has cleared the single line section, the Class 37 locomotive receives permission for Maltby. The coal train runs down through Anston Stones Wood. And is confronted by the fixed distance signal where the Great Central and Midland Joint Line goes under the A57 road. This distant signal is the outer distant for Brancliffe Junction. Brancliffe Junction, where the coal train will leave the now freight only former Great Central and Midland Joint and join the Sheffield to Gainsborough line, which has a regular passenger service. The line between Sheffield and Gainsborough was opened by the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway Company in 1849. The signal box at Brancliffe is an example of the final Great Central design, Type 5. The date of the box is unknown, but Type 5 boxes appeared in the late 1890s. The box is close to the Chesterfield Canal and the remote hamlet of Turnerwood, and the signalman's access is by walking from Turnerwood through the fields and along the trackside, and at night in the pitch dark. The junction is guarded by the tall lattice signal, and the driver of a slow, heavily laden coal train descending the steep and curved joint line has to keep a sharp lookout. A train of coal empties on the down main from Worksop is about to take the joint line and will pass the descending fully laden train from Silverwood close to the lattice signal. Shire Oaks Station, built in 1884 to replace the original station of 1849. Shire Oaks also had its colliery, which closed in 1990. The site of the pit was on the right, and the spur coming in is off the Midland line down to Mansfield. The train will pass the signal box at Shire Oaks East, guarding the other spur of this triangular junction. Another great central Type 5 box. Behind the box are a series of coal storage sidings, opened in 1906 by the Great Central as a gravity yard to ease the coal flow between Retford and Woodhouse. The coal train runs past the box into one of two slow lines opposite the coal train depot, where a short rest is made and probably a crew change. Worksop West Box and the train loco depot are either side of the A57 road. The box is a Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Type 1 box, circa 1875. opposite west box, the out-of-use wagon repair siding, and then through Worksop station. Another Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire box, this time Type 2, circa 1885. A look at the architecture of Worksop Station on a fine summer's day. The station opened in 1849 and is considered by many to be the most architecturally elegant on the line, and was built of the local Steatley stone. The Duke of Portland from nearby Wentworth had his own private waiting room. The platforms were originally covered by an overall roof, which was removed in the 1930s. More recently, much modernisation has taken place, mainly to the booking hall. One of the waiting rooms has been converted into a public bar, which is now in private ownership. The next major landmark on our journey to the Trent is Manton Colliery, which is on the downside of the line and is in the process of demolition. Just before the colliery is reached is the beautiful brick viaduct over the River Ryton and Chesterfield Canal. The little humpback bridge over the canal is dated 1829 and predates the viaduct by 20 years. The now redundant colliery stop sign. After the 3/4 mile post, it's 6 miles to Wiske Hill Junction, where the train dives under the East Coast Main Line, passing through the lower platforms of Retford Station. A train of sandhoppers heads north on the East Coast Main Line, and a coal train from Silverwood passes through the low-level platforms of Retford and past Sumpton Box, close by the site of the one-time steam locomotive shed. Alongside the Chesterfield Canal again, and then through Clarbrough Tunnel. Thrybergh Junction. The line to the right is the old line to Lincoln via Torksey, now terminating at Cotton Power Station. To the left, the line goes past West Burton Power Station and continues on to Gainsborough. The train of empties is coming from West Burton. West Burton Power Station. On any sunny day, the skies above the cooling towers seem to be filled with aircraft performing aerobatics. Our coal train is about to cross over to the down line and enter the power station. Our journey to West Burton is now over. Back to Clarbrough Junction once again. This time, a fully loaded train of 36 MGR wagons is on its way to Cotton Power Station. Our train hurries towards Cotton, with the cooling towers of West Burton as a backcloth. The train passes the beautiful fully working windmill at Leverton. The village of Cotton and its power station is just up the line. Cotton Power Station. A train of empties is about to leave. The bridge over the Trent to Torksey. The bridge now closed was designed by John Fowler, who later designed the Forth Bridge. In 1850, to give a more direct route to Lincoln, the line from Clarbrough Junction through Cotton to Torksey was opened and joined up with the Great Northern system at Sykes Junction. As stated earlier, this line now terminates at Cotton. Our journey to the Trent from Silverwood is complete, and a train of empty MGR wagons heads back to Worksop Yard.